When the news broke about Lockdown 1, I was shocked. Despite this being talked about, I never really thought that this would happen. I was still hopeful of our holidays going ahead. I never imagined what would unfold over the next few weeks. The first day walking into work was so strange, with the roads being so quiet. The same with the streets, then into work, where for the first time we were all stepping into the unknown. What do we do? What are we even allowed to do? And how do we support 8 vulnerable young people through this? We discussed how do we keep everyone safe, not just at work but for our own families. So much was unknown regarding this virus. There was fear, which was a constant companion in those early days. After the initial days, we as a group decided to keep as much of our house routines and interactions in the environment as normal as possible. Our focus early on was in cleaning, personal hygiene and the distance between us. Then it progressed to playing games, sharing stories and daily wellbeing walks. I remember describing this time as natural care in non-natural times. This was because for the first time we had our young people's full attention. There were no outside distractions, so we focused on strengthening our relationships. The house was not ready for the changes to come. We were not set up to deal with the new virtual way of working. How do we even build and maintain good relationships virtually? I remember developing a severe case of furlough envy walking to work in the sunshine. I was passing people sitting in the garden with a glass of wine or a cold beer in hand. I have since reflected on this time and feel this was actually a good thing for me, as my life continued to have very much the same structure and routines, even if my working environment had changed. I enjoyed my daily walk with my wife, embracing our local area and appreciating what a beautiful place we live and work. Eglinton Park has always been my happy place for a walk, but now, more than ever, I truly love walking around this park, reliving my childhood, family times in the park, and now, as I get older, a place for personal reflection. Family, virtual get-togethers were now a weekly highlight, not just in the Todd household but everywhere. Who would have thought that virtual parties could be as much fun as they turned out to be? The second lockdown came along. This was a completely different experience, one that I have described as the dark down. This lockdown, there were no long sunny days. These were replaced with long, dark, cold, wet days that affected everyone's mood. We all struggled through this period with very little enthusiasm despite our best efforts. My own reflection in this time was that both professionally and personally, this was a low point in my life. As 2021 progressed, our morale and optimism also improved as we headed towards 2022. Staycations were booked, and again I found a new appreciation for this place we call home. Ireland for a holiday may not have been our first choice, but it did not disappoint, and even the sun was shining. It's as if we deserved some good fortune. As the year ended and the new year arrived, we all felt 2022 was going to be different, so with renewed optimism we started to make plans for the summer. You know, stuff like a real holiday with passports and sunshine. The past couple of years were difficult for everyone, and my story may be similar to everyone else's, but I know how unique and experienced this was for us and how it all impacted on our mental health and well-being to different degrees and tested our own resilience to the very limits. My one everlasting wish is for those above us to truly appreciate what it was like to have worked through this past few years and how challenging a time this was for all staff, but especially ourselves and the care at home teams who were there riding the pandemic roller coaster whilst caring for those we look after and for each other. So after all this, has my life changed? Well, not as much as you may think, as daily routines are now much the same, holidays are back, and with the exception of some tasks still being in the virtual world, I would say I'm now more grateful for the family I have around me and the fantastic team I work with. Thanks for listening.